Hello everyone, welcome. So today what we'll be discussing is psychology as a discipline. So now when I say psychology as a discipline, see when I spoke about psychology. We also stated what is psychology like. We have stated psychology is a mapping between the body and the mind and the behavior that is taking place. So now when we are studying psychology, then it is very important for us to understand how exactly psychology works. So now when I say psychology, first and foremost I am taking psychology as a discipline. So now psychology as a discipline would basically focus is a focus of the study. So as a discipline, there is medicine as a discipline, there is various engineering as discipline, there's science as discipline. So psychology itself is a focus of study. So that is where I tell it is psychology. And psychology studies the behavior, experience, and mental processes to understand how the mind works and how different mental processes leads to various behaviors. So it is basically something that we need to study, we need to understand. What are the various approaches that is involved in taking psychology as a discipline? Psychologists aim to minimize the biases in explanation by employing scientific, objective analysis or by emphasizing subjective experiences as essential to human understanding. So they always take or they always understand, they always analyze and then go ahead. When I say psychology, there is a science behind it. So they understand, analyze, and there is a hypothetical explanation given to that. Okay, so now it is hypothesis derived uh, study that we go ahead when I say about psychology. And if I talk about the Indian traditions, then if to consider about the Indian traditions, there's a self-reflection and conscious experience analysis. So this is what I have experienced. This is what is my thought about the things. So they are seen as significant for psychological insights, a view increasingly echoed by Western psychologists. So this is what is being echoed. So Indian tradition is taken into consideration. So despite of diverse approaches, psychologists seek systematic and verifiable understanding of the behavior, mental approaches, and experiences. So there is kind of a systematic and verifiable understanding. So it is systematic. So that means there is some process that is involved. It is the same throughout and it is verifiable. You can always go ahead, verify, and it is, I say, it is reproducible. So this is when I say that particular theory is validated. So that is what goes on. So their verifiable understanding of behavior, mental process, and experiences. Okay. Psychology, while an ancient field, is relatively young science dating back to establishment of the first psychological laboratory in 1879 at Leipzig. And here, this is a very important part that we go ahead when we have Wundt coming into picture that we'll be discussing about him later. Okay. Next, what we have is fields like neuroscience, computer science, they heavily draw from psychology with brain imaging. cognitive psychology being pivotal for advancement in various disciplines. So now when we talk about most of the AI approaches which are there, which tells you to read and map the mind, that is one thing that I was experiencing in chat GPT. You write something and then you take a picture of it and then ask, what is my mental status at this point of time, or what is my stress level at this point of time? It will give you what is your thought during that particular instance. So that is what is being said and being taken as AI. So neuroscience and computer science, they are kind of uh, collaborating, or there is a mapping that is taking place. They're drawing from the psychology. So two main streams that we have for psychology today, they are, one is physical and one is biological science, and the other is social and cultural sciences. So we have biological, physical and biological, and other is social and cultural, often interesting and diverging in their approaches. So that is there. What is the biological approach that we have? As far as biological approach, it says that there is an explanation for the behavior, which is telling how do we predict and control the behavior based on cause and effect relationship. So maybe there is something that we go ahead and we say a test and control mechanism. So there's a test, a group which is a test, and a group which is a control. Control is maybe kept in a very silent zone and told to do a few sums. Okay. Whereas I put a set of candidates in a noisy area where there's a loud music, and I tell to do a set of sums. So now how both the sets perform would be different. Now you would say कि ना chalo ma'am, this might happen is this set of students who were in the silent zone, they might be of a higher category. So what they do is, so they swap the two groups and make them again solve a set of questions. Okay. So now when this happens, then they go ahead. So there is a test and control mechanism that is there. So if this set, whether the noise is really affecting uh, the solving, the solving way, or maybe the time, the amount of the correct answers that they are getting, all these things, this can be studied. So these are biological approaches when there is a cause and effect mechanism or cause and effect relationship which is being taken into consideration. Now if I talk about social science approach, the psychology and social science, they will emphasize on explaining behavior through personal socio-cultural context, assuming multiple causes for the behavioral aspects. So the whole society, the whole environment is taken into consideration. Okay, so that is where the approaches. Now we have talked about psychology as a discipline. Now we'll talk about psychology as natural science. So, what basically is natural science? Natural science would mean that when do we say the science behind this? The science behind this would mean that there is a protocol that is being followed, there is a procedure that is being followed. Say, if I say, how to make a Maggie, then there is a particular process that needs to be followed. Put 2 cups of water, and then after that put a Maggie, and then after that hold on for some time, put the masala. So there is a science behind it. What if I end up putting Maggie and masala and mixing it up, and then if I think uh, fry it up, and then I put water. So thing will not be actual Maggi. It might be some other recipe, but it will not be as such Maggi. Okay. Or say if I have a simple process, like if I tell you a scientific process that I want to do a starch test. I want to do a starch test on a leaf. What do? You take the leaf, wash it in boil it to remove all this things that is there, chlorophyll and all those. Then you what you do there, you wash it in alcohol, then put an iodine to find out whether what is the color that you're getting. Okay, so there is a process that is involved. So leaf contains starch, yes or no? So there is some answer, some kind of deduction that you are going to get. So here, when I say psychology as natural science, yes, we are trying to deduce something, we are trying to prove something, we are trying to say that there is a science behind it. So herein what comes into play is this hypothetico-deductive model. This hypothetico-deductive model that is there in psychology. So this is very important, and this is what makes psychology a natural science. So psychology follows this model very similar to physics, as I was telling you. So there is a scientific advancement that occurs through theory formulation. Theories comprise interrelated statement explaining phenomena. So if I say that noise is affecting the mental ability of a child, yes, there is a interrelated statement that I'm giving. Scientists derive hypotheses from the theories as tentative explanations. Hypotheses undergo empirical testing for confirmation or rejection. So when you say hypothesis, there is hypothesis, there is a null hypothesis, there is that you make, and there is a hypothesis that denies the fact. If I say music plays a pivotal role in problem solving. Okay, now there is something I will say, music does not have any effect on problem solving. So what will I have? I will have a set of people. I'll give them few questions based on problem solving, and there will be two sets. One wherein there is some music that is being played, and some place where there is no music that is being played. And then after that, in both the environments, I'll make people work. And then there will be numerous tests. There can be psychological test, or there can be some kind of statistical test which will prove that yes, it is playing a pivotal role or it is not playing a pivotal role. Okay, next. Psychological theories development, wherein psychologists have developed theories on learning, memory, attention, perception. So all these things that is a well researched matter, and psychologists have of course derived theories in that. Evolutionary influence on psychology. Yes, there is evolutionary influence, and evolutionary approaches from biological sciences have significantly influenced psychology, helping explain phenomena like attachment and aggression. So it's not simply that, yeah, parents are aggressive, hence the child is aggressive. Yes, it is psychological proved, and it comes heredity. If parents are quite brilliant, the child is expected to be brilliant. So, right. So some psychological proofs does give this confirmations, and hence we speak like this. Okay, so that is where I say psychology as science. Next, psychology as social science. We have told about what? We have told about psychology as a discipline, where it comes under one of the topics of study, one of the subjects that we are studying. Also presently we are studying, because psychology is a discipline, hence we are studying that. So now psychology is a science we have studied, wherein we are saying that something has to be derived out. Okay, there has to be a proof, there has to be an explanation, there has to be some statistical analysis that needs to be done. And now psychology as social science. Psychology and social science would mean how people behave in their social and cultural surroundings, where they both influence and affect this environment. People don't just react to their social and cultural settings, they help create them. So the whole thing, it is very important how the psychology of a person is, that they are just not a part of the society, but they play a pivotal role in the society. So as per as social context, how a person behaves, it and whatever other experiences, it is completely a result of the social and cultural context which is there, which what environment is the person coming from, okay, what is the society that person is living in. So all these things. And whenever there is some kind of all these things happens, there is individual traits that is there, or social influence interact, revealing the unpredictable aspects of human behavior. How do they take differences into consideration? So all those things are there. And role of psychology as a social science is to examine how individuals and groups connect with their social and cultural and physical surrounding. So that is how well do they connect, whether they are they'll keep themselves away from things, or whether they get involved. So there is a mix and match that happens in the society. Whenever I'm talking about psychology, it is very important that I understand mind and behavior, because the whole psychology is the game of mind and the behavior. Psychology was once defined as the science of mind, a concept difficult to define, but neuroscience has helped to restore respect for the mind. So now neuroscience has come up, and they have got some tests like EEG or some kind of brain mapping, signaling tests that can be done. So while a unified theory of the mind is distant, some believe it's possible. The mind and brain are distinct. So do not assume that, I have a brain scan and I get to read the map, I get to read the mind. No. So there is a mind. Damage to the brain does not apply impact functions. So there is an instance to tell you. So there is a person who is completely in coma. So whenever things doesn't work, they go to a psychologist. Like, so there are instances when a person is in coma, and the doctor has already stated that this person cannot respond, cannot listen. So whatever things happens. So a psychologist was being appointed, and what was stated is, you just go there and state to him that, him or her, that you are going to be really good in few days. So he kept on hearing this whenever something positive came up. Acha, doctor told me that your vitals are being improving and you might recover in a week or so. So see, it's now even not even a week, so you are recovering quite fine. So things like this, if you keep on saying, his mind, even his brain is not active, but his mind is listening to you, and he starts to behave in a positive manner. So on the other hand, very common things that you see. So your brain is working fine. You have faced something drastic, or you have faced a breakup. What happens to your mind? Your mind is completely depressed. You feel like, I have lost everyone, no one loves me, and blah and blah and blah and blah. So you stop having interest on everything. But your brain, ease, sending proper signals, everything is fine. But what happens? Your mind is not working fine. Your mind is not fine. Okay, so brain and mind is not the same. Effective neuroscience shows that mind's influence on behavior and bodily process. Techniques like mental imagery can treat phobias. The field of psychoneuroimmunology highlights the mind's role in the immune system. As I was giving you just an example, how the person had been really gone into or has been taken out of coma just by the psychological impact of having positive statements. Now, popular notions about disciplines of psychology, common things that we hear. For instance, people often try to explain behavior based on common sense, but these explanations may be limited. Psychology scientifically studies the mind and behavior beyond simplistic notions. So, few contrasting views, let me say. Out of sight, out of mind. Distance makes the heart grow fonder. They are few contrasting, see, out of sight at out of mind. If someone moves away, I'm not in contact, I forget that person. It's one thing, okay, possible. And on the other side, you say distant makes heart grow fonder. So would I start loving the person more or getting fond of the person just because a distance got created? So there are two contrasting views. Okay, so there is a pattern of behavior rather retrospectively explaining them, often challenging common sense beliefs. Okay, empirical evidence, if I say, an example by Dweck in 1975, it illustrates how common beliefs about boosting confidence by starting with easy tasks were contradicted by a state study where students who faced both success and failure showed great resilience. So let me tell you what the study was. So there is a set of students who were made to solve easy sums, and there was a set of students who were given difficult sums to solve. So this set of students were given easy sums and they solved it quite well. And those who were given difficult sums, they were told to, Acha, you did not try much, try some more. If this is not working, so they had been given this encouraging words to solve. So somewhere they could solve a few questions, but the others, those who got easy, did solve quite many sums. Now these groups were swapped. Now, those who were given difficult sums, they could almost solve. So, when they were swapped, they were given a standard question paper. So, now when they were swapped, what happens is those who could solve these difficult sums, they solved the question paper quite easily. But what happened to those who were given simple sums? They gave up quite easily. So if I can't do this, leave it. It's not my worth. Okay. So this kind of things that happen. So it depends on failure and success, really resilience to that. Psychological research has challenged common sense notions about behavior and mental processes. Psychologists use scientific methods to study human experiences and formulate principles about the mind. So, with this, we stop, and next video will speak about evaluation of psychology. Thank you.